Running a business comes with a lot of what ifs, but luckily there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Mike Adams is a patriot, a believer in the U.S. Constitution. He is really a Renaissance man in many ways, but he joins us today to talk about a broad cross-section of topics. I'm very, very happy to have him. Mike Adams, welcome to the Roger Stone Show.
Well, thank you, Roger. It's an honor to be on with you today, sir. Much appreciated.
So I'm going to start with a health-oriented question because it's something that members of my own family are involved in. But you say on X, formerly known as Twitter, friends, avoid all injectable weight loss drugs as they are rendered from molecules of the serpent, quite literally derived from venom peptides in the Gila monster reptile. Similar serpent molecules are routinely licensed and deployed for use in agriculture, usually pesticides, pharmaceuticals, and cosmetics. Tell us more about this because, candidly, members of my own family are considering the weight loss drug Ozempic. There are several others. I saw a great interview with Tucker Carlson. I think it was with an executive from a former executive from a big pharmaceutical company. That in itself scared me about this particular medication, but there are several others in the market. Tell us about this, if you would.
Well, sure. So venom peptides are routinely used throughout the pharmaceutical industry. There's a whole industry that gathers and researches and then licenses various peptides from reptiles, from snakes, from cone snails, toxic creatures on land and in the ocean. And one of those creatures is known as the Gila monster, and its venom peptides became the basis for the research on these very popular injectable weight loss drugs. And the way that these weight loss drugs work, and by the way, if you go to the websites of these weight loss drug, the brand names of the various drugs that are out there, they have a very, very prominent list of side effects that include not only accelerating thyroid cancer, by the way, but also side effects such as dizziness and nausea, heart palpitations, and sweating. And these side effects, Roger, these are the same side effects, almost perfectly matched, that a person would receive if they were bitten by a venomous snake. And that's because these are venoms as the base peptides on which the research was based. And the way they work as, quote, weight loss drugs is that they paralyze temporarily the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body. It extends from deep within the brain all the way down to touching various organs, multiple organs, including the heart and the stomach and so on. And then when that nerve is paralyzed, your stomach fails to empty itself as would be normal a certain time following a meal, and thus the food stays in your stomach, it putrefies there, and you feel full longer, so you eat less. The problem is, well, you have venom peptides in your system, and this is why over time, some of the side effects experienced by some people include vomiting after every meal. They can't keep any meal down. And I already mentioned thyroid cancer and some of the other side effects that are well known. But the main thing, Roger, is, and by the way, I'm publishing multiple sermons right now, faith-based sermons, Christian sermons. One of them is on this, the serpent molecules that are in food as pesticides and herbicides. They're in medicines, like we just talked about, and, Roger, they're in personal care products. So a lot of the lotions and sometimes the anti-wrinkle treatments that people put on their faces contain like cone snail venom that temporarily paralyze the muscles of the face, causing the tension lines to temporarily disappear, and it makes a person's face look less wrinkled. So there you go. It's real. Most people don't know about it, but thank you for asking.
You know, you and I are both believers in health freedom. That means people should be free to choose whatever they want for their health, but they have to get educated. So for many, many years, I insisted that there was only one type of mayonnaise. That was Hellmann's real mayonnaise. And whenever anybody brought Kraft to a picnic, I would humiliate them. Then more recently, I started reading the label, and I found that there were a lot of GMO products in there that didn't sound natural. I then went online, did my own research, decided that that was no longer for me. Then I switched to Duke's mayonnaise, but it didn't have the same flavor. It was a little sweet for me. And finally, I've found a mayonnaise called Sir Remington. But I now recognize the extent to which, particularly salt, but everything, all of our processed food has things that are potentially poisonous. How long has this been true, I guess is my question.
Well, increasingly since the post-World War II industrial age of mass food manufacturing. Now, by the way, you mentioned the brand there, Sir Kensington. That's the mayonnaise that I use as well. And I have the ingredients right here in front of me. And it's sunflower oil, which is fine, and certified humane cage-free egg yolks, water, distilled vinegar, salt, cane sugar, lemon juice, citric acid, and lemon oil. And that's what mayonnaise is supposed to be. Simple ingredients. It's all certified non-GMO. It tastes great. I've got that too. Funny that you mentioned that. But you're right. A lot of the products that are in foods, processed foods today, are synthetic. It's artificial food. It's been stripped of mineral nutrition. It's been stripped of the phytonutrients. Roger, there's a concept that I'm really trying to share with people called God's molecules. God's molecules are these natural medicines that are synthesized in plants and the herbs and the sprouts and the foods that we take in if we're wise, the fresh produce from the grocery store. And if you look inside celery, for example, there are molecules in there that are anti-cancer, or in citrus fruit, or in pomegranate seeds, anti-prostate cancer. There are neuroprotective nutrients in broccoli and cruciferous vegetables, or in turmeric root, which is one of the main ingredients of curry spices, anti-cancer nutrients. I call these God's molecules, and they're all throughout the unprocessed food supply, but they're utterly lacking in processed foods. And this is one of the reasons why Trump recently said we have to have an investigation. We have to look at the causes of chronic degenerative disease, and we have to find a way to make America healthy again and stop spending a fortune just treating the symptoms of disease. I was really filled with joy to hear Trump say that.
Let's shift to politics, only because when I do your show on Brighteon, that's usually what you want to ask me about. So the shoe's now on the other foot. But you're a very wise man, and you've long expressed skepticism about the deep state. But recently, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency and the FBI put out a bulletin that seemed to me a very ominous warning about potential problems with the next election. Specifically, their bulletin says this public service announcement, in other words, this piece of potentially propaganda, is to raise awareness that a DDoS attack, meaning the denial of service attack, could, I guess I would put it, take place during our next election, which they say could affect the election infrastructure or adjacent infrastructure that supports election operations, and therefore could hinder public access to election information, but would not impact the security or integrity of the process. Well, first of all, this is ominous because we, of course, have been told that the voting machines and the voting tabulation machines are not connected to the internet, but more
Right.
precisely, I am concerned, how could they know whether an incursion that has or has not happened could affect the security integrity of the process? I don't really, this seems self-contradictory to me.
Well, absolutely, it is self-contradictory, and it's clear to me that they are bad faith actors. And as you know, their story, the narrative of the cabal in power, is that any election they win could not possibly have been rigged, and there was no cheating, and there's no possibility of any hacking, and it was the most secure election in history. I'm referring to what they say about 2020, of course. But now, in anticipation of the wildly accelerating popularity of Donald Trump following his miraculous survival of their attempt to take him out, they anticipate, the cabal in power, they anticipate that Trump's margin of victory will be so large that they can't cheat their way to it. And so they're telling us in advance that they are going to arrange for a cyber attack on the election infrastructure so that they can rig it in a whole new way. That's my analysis.
Well, again, this is an official government statement. This is not a conspiracy theory that we just made up. I think it is ominous, to say the least. As you know, I wrote a book on the Kennedy assassination, the man who killed Kennedy, the case against LBJ, where I very specifically documented a plot in which there are multiple government agencies, including the Central Intelligence Agency, involved. But I particularly go out of my way to document the failures of the Secret Service. They very clearly violate their own regulations and stand down on John Kennedy. You have raised these own issues on X. We got about 2 minutes. We'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back with Mike Adams. But, Mike, let's start this conversation. What do you conclude happened based on what you've seen?
Two things. There are two acronyms used here. There's Let It Happen on Purpose, and Dr. Chris Martenson has been using these acronyms, or LIHOP, Let It Happen on Purpose, LIHOP. And then there's Made It Happen on Purpose, or MIHOP. I believe, based on my analysis, I've done quite a lot here, that elements of the United States Secret Service, and I'm not throwing every agent under the bus here, I'm saying that treasonous elements and the leadership of the Secret Service, they ran a LIHOP campaign. They let it happen. They pulled back the security. They allowed that rooftop to be exposed. They made sure they had no comms operating with the local police and so on. And then there's another element likely tied to, the deep state, intelligence community, possibly FBI-run patsies. It's hard to tell. But that would be the Made It Happen on Purpose. So they recruited the shooter. They walked him through the steps. They showed him which building to get on top of, which ladder to climb, which day to arrive. Somebody showed him how to do it, what to do, practically pulled the trigger for him.
All right, we're going to come back.
The combination.
I've got a couple things to say about this myself. We're going to come back just a minute with Mike Adams. This is The Roger Stone Show, and we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Principles. Ray Dalio, legendary investor and New York Times best-selling author, wants to pass along his understanding of how countries go broke, because he believes the U.S. budget and debt situation needs to be addressed. To give you that knowledge, he has put the draft of his book, How Countries Go Broke, The Big Cycle, online for free. It's available now at economicprinciples.org.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
Experience a progressive lens engineered with AI from Essilor. Powered by individual measurements of your visual behavior, a lens personalized to you by an Essilor expert. Discover Verilux XR Track and enjoy instantly sharp vision in motion and seamless transitions from near to far. Find your local Essilor expert today at Essilor.com.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel or that white chocolate mocha. Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
This is The Roger Stone Show.
And welcome back, folks. I'm Roger Stone, and we're still here with Mike Adams, also known as the Health Ranger. He is, of course, the founder of the Brighteon.com, which is a net-based video platform, as well as naturalnews.com. And right now, he is releasing 100 faith-based sermons in the 100 days leading up to the election. In fact, Sermon 7 was released today. We were talking about the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump. I would say two things. First of all, it is now, I think, indisputable that the Secret Service and the Pennsylvania State Police and the local police knew that there was a man with a gun on the location. They had seen him use the rangefinder, and they knew this for 92 minutes. The Secret Service manual and protocols, which I am familiar with, having investigated them, researched them for my book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, the case against LBJ, tell me that that is a violation. The president should have been evacuated immediately. He wasn't even told. Now we are told that a government counter sniper had the shooter in his sights, and saw him aiming a gun, but rather than take him out before he could shoot at the president and sadly kill Corey Comparatori and wound two others, he waited until after he shot before taking him out. Those two things lead me to believe that this wasn't incompetence or malfeasance, that is something much worse going on here.
Well, Roger, absolutely that's the case, and I would bring your attention to the fact that the Secret Service counter sniper shot that, as we understand it, ended the shooter's life. That shot was 16 seconds after the very first shot of the shooter. 16 seconds. Now, among the many things that I've done in my life, I've also trained with many special forces operators. I'm a long-range target shooter with a very good knowledge of ballistics and, these kinds of things, these technical details that are necessary. And just with that experience and who I know and who I've trained with, I can tell you that if a counter-sniper team is glassing a potential target, that is, they've got him in their scope, they already know the range, and this range was inconsequential for an accomplished military sniper, by the way. The response time, once the threat presents itself, which would have been the first shot, the response time of a competent sniper would have very easily been less than 2 seconds, which means that the shooter would have only been able to get off that first three-round burst, and would not have been able to get off the other 5 rounds that came after that. So what the Secret Service did, and it's clear to me, Roger, that someone gave them the order to hold off, do not respond, do not stop this shooter. That's clearly the order that was given. They allowed the shooter, who we believe is Crooks, the time during which he could have emptied an entire 30-round magazine. The fact that he got off only 8 shots, we believe, is due to a Pennsylvania law enforcement, we don't know who it is yet, who fired shot number 9, which caused Crooks to be distracted. This round was fired at Crooks, we believe, and that caused Crooks to pause and reconsider what he was doing there that day, probably. So the Secret Service did not save Trump's life. The Secret Service put him in danger. It was a state law enforcement, probably a SWAT team member or counter sniper, who probably is responsible for not only, halting an additional volley of rounds, but also saving Secret Service members who would have been caught in that additional volley if Crooks had had time to empty his magazine. That's my analysis.
Extraordinary how quickly the Secret Service identified a man they call Thomas Matthew Crooks. They don't tell us much, but they do manage to tell us he's a registered Republican. The update of the Pennsylvania voting list will be out shortly, and soon I'll be able to tell you if that's true. I believe it is, but also how recently he became a Republican. All right, I'm afraid we are out of time. Let me thank my friend Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, for dropping in today, and let's get you back soon, Mike. God bless you.
God bless.